bushwhacks were some of the worst days I've ever had in the mountains, or life, really.
Whereas Panther Mountain is totally opposite. It's a mountain on top of a crater.
I think the weather challenges on this incident were particularly difficult.
It was really the development of New York State. Catskills were responsible.
Now you're listening to Inside the Line, the Catskill Mountains podcast.
All right, so I want to start off this episode with a quote. You probably should know this, Ted. I wish there was a way to know you were in the good old days before you actually left them. Very emotional quote. Unfortunately, you got to think about that, especially, at this time of when we're talking to Shai here. So just a quote I wanted to start with. Unfortunately, we lost a good friend of ours. Wasn't a prolific hiker, but she was a good hardcore battler of cancer. So once again, cherish those moments you have with the people you have. Give them love, give them comfort, everything. So tonight, episode 190, award-winning filmmaker Shai Ben-Dor joins us to talk about his documentary, The Long Path, A Journey of Becoming, which follows a great journey of the trek of Kim Levinsky along the 358-mile Long Path Trail. We definitely talk about his film's information, his inspiration, behind-the-scene challenges, and the powerful themes of connection and self-discovery. Also, they didn't talk about on this film ticks. I got a tick bite, Ted, last week.
Ouch.
I mean, it wasn't an ouch. I mean, I did the bushwhack up Wyndham. I came home, I showered. I went to work. I came home and I showered again, and I felt something. It was the place was very odd. I know this might be a little TMI. Where do you think it was?
Let's see. Odd place. I'm going to say it was inside your left nostril.
That's a little bit weird. No.
You said it was odd.
A little TMI. Okay, so TMI.
You wanted me to guess somewhere in your crotch? No. I was just going to go with the left nostril. It's kind of safe territory for me. True. You're going to give up TMI. I'm going to go to the safe haven, left nostril. If you want, I'll go to the right nostril. One of the two. There I am.
It was weird. It was right above my butt crack. So it's kind of like a place where.
So now we know where Stosh doesn't wash when he takes a shower.
No, I guess, like every time we come home, especially when I say a bushwhack, I know it sounds weird, but the wife checks me out to see if I got, a tick on me. And, I guess we didn't explore all regions this time. He's crying. He's like, screw this.
I need a drink.
Yeah. I got it. But I mean, I got the tick. I felt it, and I pulled it out, luckily, by myself.
Pulled it out? All right, this is getting a little too explicit.
Right. And I immediately went, next day, I tried to hook up with my doctor that day, but he didn't have any openings, so I went to urgent care, and they gave me amoxicillin. Is that what it is?
Yes, doxycycline.
Yeah, doxycycillin. So yeah. I got that for 2 days, and I'm supposed to monitor it, and I haven't seen any increases in size of the bite and stuff like that.
That's what your wife says, but
I mean, god damn, it's been like years that I've gotten a tick bite, and it just sucks. Like, I'm just like, you freak out because of, freaking ticks. Like, what else? I don't know what I'd be more fearful of, a black bear attacking me or a tick bite.
Well, yeah, isn't that the irony? Is we all have this fear of the obvious, black bear or a venomous snake.
Mountain lion.
Yeah, but that's apparent that if something like that attacks you, bites you, whatever, you know about it, but it's that little tick that you can't even see.
Yep.
And then occasionally you meet somebody who will tell you their story that they had this symptom, that symptom, months, then years go by, and finally somebody makes the diagnosis. Oh, you just have advanced Lyme's disease. That's what's been ailing you for 2 or 3 years, right? That's why you've been struggling for 2 or 3 years in pain, lethargic, etc. Because a little tick bit you a few years ago and you didn't check your butt crack.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks. You're just like, there's so many different variations of Lyme disease. It could affect this, it could affect that, and I think, to me, I'd be more aware of tick bites than I would of a bear encounter and a bear attacking me, or even freaking like a rabid animal. Really.
Yeah. It's, on the one hand, it seems ever present, that risk of being bitten by a tick when you're out hiking. But I think in the Catskills, once you get to a certain elevation and higher, that risk goes down. And that's where my experience has been. Most instances where I involuntarily inhabit a tick for a few days is I either attribute it to activity outside around my house, landscaping, mowing, etc., or some low elevation activities in the Catskills. But even this past weekend, even though I thought the likelihood of a tick bite over my hiking this past weekend was low, I still sprayed myself up before I left my Jeep to go out on my hike. I still kind of like took that shower of a multitude of different repellents, because I kind of like, give myself a little smorgasbord treatment of this style and that style. Yeah. And I've had a good year. I think 3 times this year I've sprayed the inside of my hiking clothes with permethrin. I did it at the end of, summer, because and then earlier in the summer, and then before the summer began. But I did it towards the end because I figured I had enough sweat, enough washings, yada, 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 that I needed a reapplication. So I want to think that I'm doing the right things. But as you point out, you just never know.
Could fall into that one crevice that, it just, you can forget it. It's a tough spot to reach, tough dot to the spot, and it's just, it happens. So once again, I wouldn't say, you can seek medical attention. This was definitely latched onto me. So I sought it right away. I was just like, no, this is no time to fuck around and find out. So,
if I find one on me, I don't even bother with any testing. I just go in for the doxy.
Okay.
Yeah. And you can, most places, you can just get it right online. You do the telemed, and they'll hook you up with a prescription. They'll call it in, or, wire it in, whatever they do to your local pharmacy. And a few hours later, you can go down and pick up your doxy. But you know what you can't pick up anymore at the local pharmacy?
What's that?
Tylenol. Okay, let's move on.
Jesus Christ. As now you gotta hit that spot. So let's go on to more positive news. So I'd like to thank everybody who has donated to the 1 mile challenge. As of this, it's going to be over. We raised $1,440 to our veterans and first responders and Guardian Revival. So amazing job to everybody who's donated. Yeah. Especially to Tracy Rankin and Joanne Beyond Blazes. $1,440. To be honest, I checked over the statistics, and we had 3 members on our team. Everybody else had more than like 8. So, and to be honest, everybody else raised a crap load of money compared to us. And my goal was $2,000 because we did $1,000 last year. So I was like, let's try to kick it. And I think we did a fantastic job. So thank everybody who donated to the 1 mile challenge, Tracy and Joanne, who were team members in this. And we did a kick-ass job. So thank you.
Kudos. That's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you, Tad. I think you donated. You might have. It was anonymous.
I think I was in the first round of offerings, as they say at church.
Yeah. Yeah. So this injured hiker rescued Friday in Tannersville, September 26th. I looked up a lot of information. Where the hell was this located?
You did? You found out? All I pulled up was this one article about it. Greene County paramedics, along with members of the Hunter Ambulance Corps, hiked 5 miles round trip Friday to help rescue a hiker, according to the Greene County paramedics. It says they met the patient, evaluated their ankle, leg injury, and provided pain management before the hiker was hoisted out of the woods by a helicopter aided by the New York State Police and Department of Conservation Forest Rangers. But it just really doesn't give that much more detail. It says the hiker was taken by ambulance to a local hospital for further treatment. And that's about it. I mean, he was apparently, it was a short helicopter ride to get the person to an ambulance, and then they were taken to a local hospital. From this report that I'm reading, it doesn't seem to be as extensive of an injury that Kate had. And her helicopter ride was right to the Albany Medical Center, where she had the hardware put into her lower leg to stabilize the bones. So
correct. And you think of Tannersville, where I'm not sure the town boundaries and stuff like that go to. So maybe this was up kind of like North Mountain, South Mountain, stuff like that. The haul out would be kind of a challenge. And like every other place is kind of like Elka Parkish, I would say. I mean, if you get this, once again, if you don't know the area, you can't portray it as the way we do, because you and I, we see like Elka Park, kind of like the Devil's Path, Platte Cove, Catskill High Peak, kind of like the High Peaks area, and then you hit more North-South Lake and stuff. You'd think you would kind of like hit the audience a little bit more with that, but it doesn't give any like any detail of where this was. Greene County paramedics, Hunter County paramedics. So was this up on the Hunter area?
Yeah. Well, did you see the video? There's like a video of them.
Oh, I didn't see the video. I only saw a picture.
Yeah, doing a helicopter hoist.
What do you think? Like, where are you thinking?
Yeah, it's just, you can't tell that much. All I know is it's interesting for this person's injury. We don't know how accessible or inaccessible the location was, but it's interesting that they used this. For this person, they did a helicopter hoist out of the woods. For Kate, they used a wheeled litter to an ATV. It was like planes, trains, and automobiles, right? A wheeled litter.
1930s style.
Yeah, well, they had they had the ATV that they almost ruined as they took her over some ravine. That the thing almost flipped over. Poor Kate's in the back, not knowing what's going on. And these guys, they're sawing down trees and yada, yada, yada. And I forget how recently it was. Somebody asked me, it was this weekend. Some people asked me about that podcast and her situation. And I told them, and I still to this day wonder, I think it would just been easy just to take her down the trail. I mean, I've hiked that trail many times. I don't think that trail has anything technical on it.
Attack like trail going down. Are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there's times when I hike that trail, I see ATV tread marks on it. Okay.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
It's wide. There's, there might be some small ledge activity here and there. I never, when I hiked over it, thought, oh, gee, could you get an ATV over this or not? I mean, that wasn't in my thinking on the one hand, but on the other hand, I just can't understand why you would take her through the woods like they did. But, I mean, these guys, and gals, they're professionals at it, but what an ordeal she had, man.
Yeah.
So,
and being in that area as well, you kind of hit a spot of where like an ATV can go, and then you have only a little bit more up to the lean-to that is kind of like a challenge with one person kind of like, like once again a litter. But other than that, it doesn't seem like too bad of a challenge.
To the lean-to, I seem to remember over there it just being a lot of old logging roads and bark roads on that pointy end of the mountain.
True. I mean, somewhat.
Yeah.
Why,
well. Yeah. But, this recent story from last Friday, September 26th, just, is another reaffirmation that anyone at any time hiking in the woods can twist or break their ankle.
Exactly. An accident can happen.
Yeah, you're just one step away from that. So be careful.
Be careful. Carry with you the 10 essentials and the safety kit that I carry. That's absolutely insane. That weighs like 25 fucking pounds. So you never ever know. That's what they said on the Jerky Boys. She said, "You never ever know." That's what your mom shared. So we chat about this before. I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago. We talked about Killian Jornet is planning on doing like a whole marathon of hiking the 14K peaks on the lower 48. And he has done 56 Colorado 14 peaks in 16 freaking days. So it's definitely a journey that we just I want to cover. So 16 consecutive days he climbed all 56 14ers in Colorado, movingly entirely in his own power, and totally spent 267 hours on the move, covering 1,207 miles with a staggering Jesus, what the fuck, 5,559 feet of climbing, which is nearly equivalent climbing Mount Everest 9 times. His stage averaged around to 16 hours of movement, which meant running roughly a marathon and biking 40 to 60, 50 miles every single day. Each day he gained an average close to around 16,000 feet of elevation gain. So Jillian, once again, this phenomenal beast is just freaking, Tad, I come from a background of just climbing. You come from a background of climbing and biking. This is just beyond my capacity. You're up 14,000 feet, so the air definitely thinner. You're biking, climbing, stuff like that. Have you ever been in these kind of situations where you can situate what it's like? Or
yeah, look, I've done a ton of skiing in Colorado. Presumably some of these mountains he hiked up, I've taken chairlift rides on, and others, we've hiked to some point, whether it was the summit or beneath the summit, to backcountry ski it. Obviously, the guy's acclimated to that altitude, so it's not as painful to him as it is to somebody else who isn't acclimated to it. But that's one hell of an effort. And when you were telling the total vert that he covered in those 16 days, it's 255,000 vertical feet over 16 days. So he's just crushing it out there, covering multiple mountains per day, cycling in between, which is kind of like, maybe a good recovery ride for him to active recovery to help him get rid of some of the lactic pain from one session to the next. But wow, just an epic effort. And I'm looking forward to when we get him on the show.
Yeah. Okay. He's like 25,000 other shows.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, not all of those shows, and maybe none of them are the region's best. So, of the repertoire of shows he does, at least one needs to be the region's best. And our listeners voted us the region's best, so we're going to give them some of the best content. We're going to ask Killian Jornet to be on the show, and if he says no, then we're going to send people out there to spoil that effort. Catch him cutting a switchback or something like that. Ruin him.
I'll send him a message immediately and be like, In Colorado, New York, we have similar taste, so how many, with these times in between his peaks with coasting and like biking, how much time do you think he has kind of like downhill to kind of like recover, and then he's got to go uphill and stuff? Like, is it a dramatic change?
So I honestly, can't say how much recovery time going downhill he's getting, but don't think that all of your time on the bike going downhill, your legs are actually recovering, because depending on the roads he's riding on, it might be downhill, but if it's a rough road, then he can't be as relaxed on the bike as he would be if it was on a paved road. So if he's going down some, graded but unpaved roads, that's, a lot of dealing with the bike bouncing around, trying to keep the bike stabilized, standing up off the saddle at times. So it's not as relaxed of a cycling position as you would think that this guy's just, riding his bike down Route 23 into Palinville, into Tannersville. Okay?
Especially during these summer times, with that up on the 14 Ks, they're dealing with snow, rain, sleet, stuff like that. I think one of the more interesting thing is, so he's getting some level of recovery on the downhill after the hike, but to get to the hike, he's riding his bike, presumably some level of uphill to get there. So it's not like he's stepping out of a car or a van at a trailhead and pushing off and doing that uphill hike. No, he's biked up there. And I know from the little bike and hikes, and yes, I'm going to compare what I do to the Catskills to what this guy's doing in Colorado. But I often look at and structure my bike and hike around avoiding a killer uphill before I start the hike. Try to do the hike so you're ending at the high point, which means you start the bike at the high point and cycle to the low point. Like when I do the Burroughs Range Traverse, I park at Slide Mountain parking area. I ride the bike down the road, pass through the hairpin, down to Big Indian, bang a right on 28, go down to Phoenicia, and up that gradual climb to Woodland Valley. Imagine doing that the other way. Oh, wow.
Where you come up 47. I mean, I've cycled that in prior years when I wasn't hiking, and that's one, it's one hell of a climb on a bike. And then you go off and do the climb, I mean, that's a lot
insane.
of effort. Yeah. So, but this guy, I don't think he has the luxury of always doing, it that way. I think he's obliged to cycle up some steep stuff to get to the start of these hikes. So yeah, he's just, he's a very elite athlete. Kudos to him to doing something like that. But also, I don't know if there's any message, purpose, or public service thing that he's trying to get across to the community in doing this, other than sponsorships by whoever sponsors him. And I'm saying that because later on tonight, we have Shai on and his documentary, which is not only drawing attention to Kim and her fastest known time effort on the long path, but to mental health and awareness of folks' struggles with those issues, and they're living their life with that. So,
and why they did that, why they did that. You're right, totally right, that he's not saying that he's doing this for, of course, their projected time.
Fastest. Yeah. I don't know if there's no other. He's like, this is probably the first time anybody's ever tried such a thing.
Yeah. And he's not doing it for any reason that he's doing it for, I'm not saying himself, but the sponsor, stuff like that. He's not saying, hey, I'm doing this for mental health awareness, or hey, I'm doing this for my first responders or stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just like, I'm just fucking doing this because I can.
Because I'll get attention doing it. And, look, I'm not bashing.
Oh yeah. Well, I can't wait to follow him.
Yeah, it's a cool project. He seems to be crushing it. And like I said, he's going to want to be on the show because we were voted best in the region. So
correct. So I'm going to get him on here and be like, hey, we were best of the East Coast. I know you did.
Yeah.
Some shit over on the West Coast, but that doesn't mean anything. You get on this, you're going to be So
yeah, and we'll do a money back guarantee on this. If we don't get them on the show, we'll give our listeners their money back.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, it says despite these obstacles, Jornet pushed forward on an average of just 4.5 hours of sleep. Wow, that's rookie numbers.
Yeah,
4.5 hours of sleep. That's a typical day for me.
Yeah, I'm not impressed anymore.
Yeah, okay? Not at all. I'm just like, wow.
If you do this on 2 hours of sleep, I'm impressed.
Correct. Like freaking what's his name did Chicken Fat.
Yeah.
Like, if you sleep in a porter john, please let me know.
Yeah, I'd love give us a call. Yeah, fuck getting him on the show. He's not good enough. We want Chicken Fat back. Chris, give us a call. We want you back on the show, buddy.
Yeah, we'll get him on. Maybe talk about his PCT. Did the PCT recently, right, or is it CDT?
He, as I understand it, I think it was the PTC.
Yeah,
that he set out to do, and then something happened, and he kept trying to get back on pace to do a fastest known time, and then eventually he just hiked it.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah, sounds. Look, I followed him on Insta in this journey, and it sounds like he made the best of it. That was his summer break. That's what he did over the summer.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Bad thing. The rest of us were working our day jobs, so.
But Tad, soon we'll be doing stuff in the New Hampshire and stuff like that.
Yeah, could be. You never know.
Yeah. So
once we take over, we're going to expand inside the line up to New Hampshire. We're going to cover multiple mountains now.
Correct. Multiple ranges.
Yeah, we're going to have the East Coast covered.
Fuck yeah. So, yeah, Killian, we're going to be watching you and kind of like pinpointing the shit you do that you don't do right, and stuff like that. So watch out. All right. So what's shooting the shit? It's not too much. Oh, wait a minute. Tad, you sent me a recent message. Good Lord, I didn't cover this. So unprepared CNY hikers rescued after failed bushwhack attempt in the ADK high peaks, Adirondacks. So 2 inexperienced central New York hikers got themselves into a pinch last week when attempting to bushwhack off marked trails in the Adirondacks. So 32-year-old from Syracuse and 36-year-old from Ondecourt planned to scale Dial Mountain via Gravestone Brook, a steep, strenuous 18-mile bushwhack. Once again, another reason why I don't want to be in the Adirondacks. After 4 p.m. September 20th, they called to DC. Forest rangers said they were lost and unable to move to thick spruce forest somewhere on the south side of Bear Den Mountain. How can you not move through thick spruce forest? Just freaking plow your thing. They informed the rangers they had no experience bushwhacking. Furthermore, they had no map, compass, headlamp, or extra layers. And for the same reason, they had not planned how they would return to their car after reaching the summit of Dial Mountain. Wow, complete clusterfuck. Rangers bushwhacked to the forest following the Leech Trail until they found the lost hikers. Hours later, provided them with food, water, and headlamps and assisted them out to the Round Pond Trail at 10 p.m. Rangers, of course, suggest planning out hiking before you head out. So once again, this looks like they called around 4 p.m., 10 p.m., 6 hours later, they got out. So frickin' believable with the source, with the amount of information we have on the frickin' internet, with Garmin InReach, with your phone, with battery backups. I still can't believe this shit is going on constantly.
Yeah, so I think it's, one of these instances where people do have all this information available to them. And apparently these 2 people, it seems, distilled that information in such a way that this did not seem to be all that difficult. And maybe they did not understand the nature of bushwhacking, particularly the nature of bushwhacking this particular terrain, because if you are told that you need to bushwhack to Southwest Hunter, and you quote unquote bushwhack to Southwest Hunter along the old railroad bed, you now generalize and say, well, gee, that wasn't bad. Bushwhacking isn't bad. I can do any bushwhack in the Catskills. That's really not true. It's not all that easy out there. So who knows what the data they collected, but overall it seems that they were underprepared for this. And thankfully they called early enough and the weather conditions weren't deteriorating on them. And there's a happy ending to this story. So again, thank you to our New York State DEC Rangers. And it's at this point in the night, I point out that Stosh is wearing his newly acquired New York State Forest Ranger Foundation baseball cap. And I will say it is a very handsome cap. So I'm glad to say I have one, and I'm going to be proudly wearing mine. Plus I got the decal. I'm sure you got the decal as well.
Definitely.
And I also got the patch. It's going to be the only patch I sew into my backpack.
Correct. I agree 100% with that. My backpack does not have any patches on it right now, and I will gladly support this patch because they do a phenomenal job with supporting not only just the forest rangers, but what they do, what we can do as well. So you got to donate $2 million or more to get this hat.
Yeah. Well, I don't think you have to donate that much, but what we see in this little snafu that we just covered, that, no matter the circumstances, the Rangers will go out and give it their all to get you. We saw that in that Tannersville rescue that we just went over, and these two guys up on Dial Mountain, they went out and got Kate. They go out and get, anybody who does anything out in the wilderness, whether it's unintentional or even intentional stupidity. They'll come in, they'll bail your ass out. So support them whenever and however you can. We'll trash and criticize the DEC for things that we want to, but the Rangers will back up 100%.
100%. These guys are out there.
These guys and gals.
Yeah. These guys and gals are out there to support us and to do our evaluate our dumb decisions that we have. Not just me and Ted, but everybody else. So these dumb decisions. So
yeah, well, and sometimes it's not a dumb decision. Sometimes, like with respect to Kate, shit happens.
Still, 18 miles. Like you think of the fucking come on.
Yeah.
What is it? I don't think there's an 18-mile hike besides the Devil's Path and the escarpment that you can do.
You can go from Phoenicia over Romer Mountain, Outside Mountain. That's up in the teens. That's I think 16 or 17 miles.
But this was to one freaking peak in the Adirondacks. That's just atrocious.
That's also the beauty of the Adirondacks. Like Danny Davis is going up there now and doing this pack rafting. He's got this backpack that unfolds into a raft, like a kayak raft thing. And so he can go to these really remote places, ponds and lakes up there, and just get really, really far away from it and have a good time. And that's the beauty. I think the beauty of the Adirondacks. That's why I loved it so much when I was, in a young person going up there and just being able to go out for 5 to 15 days or so at a time and not even cross a road. So you can't do that in the Catskills. There's some places in the Cats where you can get really way out there. But I don't think you get that in the White Mountains, at least not as extensively as you do in the Adirondacks.
Yeah,
so as they say, you need to learn to embrace the suck. That's just part of it. Part of it is hiking in 4 miles and hiking out 4 miles from the mountain.
True.
So
true. Are we still recording? Yes, we are.
No, we're not. We're ready to get another beer, I think. Oh, okay. So
okay. Hold on. Let me check. We are.
So you got the sponsors.
Yes.
Summit,
it's going so well words. So
it's a good time to fill up your gas tank if you're mowing your lawn. It's going to be a long night.
Thank you to the monthly supporters: Bob McLean, Chris Gerbian, Jeff Jotz, Vicky Ferrell, Mikey S, John Comiskey, Summit Seekers, Desert City Radio, Betsy A, Denise W, Vanessa, and Eric. Greatly appreciate your support for the show. Once again, this kind of went into the hat that I'm wearing, the Forest Ranger Foundation. We donated a decent amount of money. Your money just doesn't go to the podcast. It goes back in the Catskills, back in the New York State. So, also, awesome thank you to our sponsors of the show. Another Summit. Embark on a transformative journey with Another Summit. Another Summit is dedicated to serving veterans and first responders with free outdoor activities. Activities like walks in nature, paddling, hiking, and even backpacking. Join our supportive community to rejuvenate in nature's embrace. Experience camaraderie, adventure, and healing at no cost. Take your next step with Another Summit and ascend to new heights of resilience and joy. Apply today on anothersummit.org. Also, this episode is sponsored by Trail Bomb Project. Discover the wilderness with Trail Bomb Project. Our expert-led hiking and backpacking education programs offer unparalleled outdoor experiences. Whether you're a beginner or seasoned adventurer, join us to learn essential skills, explore stunning trails, and connect with nature. Start your journey today with Trail Bomb Project and unlock the wonders of the great outdoors. So, Tad, who is really outdoors? A lot of people.
Yeah. I'm glad to see everybody's getting out there and checking out the fall colors.
Holy shit. The tags we had is just freaking phenomenal. So once again, mention us on one of your hikes through social media. We'll chat about it on the show. Tag us by typing at the big A with a crossover ITL Catskill MTM podcast on your post. So I want to give a big shout out once again to Golden Money Cat. He tagged us on our show. Nicholas tagged us on our show in a blank sign off of Hadley Mountain Trail, the Adirondacks. And I reposted that tagging the DEC, and they reached out to me saying, where is this? Let's get it replaced. And hopefully they'll get it replaced. So that was an instant 25-minute probably wait. It was insane.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, awesome, Nicholas. Thank you once again for tagging us. And then we tagged DEC. Let's hope this goes again, because once again, Nicholas has shown that he's listened to the shows, and we want to replace the signs kind of everywhere. I would say more the Catskills. We are more located. Anywhere in the Adirondacks, I'm going to say no. So. Sean, Cyan 72 was up Catskill Falls when there was no water. Who the hell would hike up a waterfall with no water? Right?
Yeah. Well, when you have a small yard and it takes half an hour to mow it, you got plenty of time to go doing any type of hike you want.
True.
So
true. Then he went up Hunter Mountain in the mist and caught the DEC repairing the cabin. But he said suggested to them that they build a bridge over the Never Sink from Slide, because that's the most thing we complain about. And I agree.
Someday
we will get that tiny little bridge over Slide. So, Justin Kettering was Table Rock, PA, enjoying the stunning view of the Appalachians. How do you say that, Ted? How do you say that?
Well, I'm not going
Appalachians.
to. I'm not going to, because then I'm going to get criticized for it. And then it's going to waste time. I'm going to waste time in therapy, and it's just going to be a whole bad thing.
It's like documentary.
Appalachians, I think.
Yeah,
how some people say it.
Yeah, 7 miles on the AT with his daughter and Hank the Golden Retriever, and also did a quick hike through Quiddy Park. And I appreciate you, Justin, for reaching out to me, because I missed your tags before. I think your profile was private, so I didn't get you. Once again, I missed these tags, and if I miss them, call me out. If I miss your tags, and I will reach out to you, and I will personally contact you, and we will tag them on the next show. So
yeah, and if he misses them even after that, then send him a couple hard ciders with your tag written on the side of it, and Stosh will be sure to mention you on the next show.
Oh, absolutely. With hard ciders, definitely.
Yeah.
So Catskill Mountain Brew, Scott was out with Soul doing North Dome and Cheryl, then Tahquamenon afterwards. Then next day went up Balsam Ego. Zorro is at 17 Peaks. Now the big question is, Ted, Hawkett or Hawkett?
Hawkett.
Hawkett.
Yeah, I'm doing that on the authority of Jim Booten.
Oh,
Hawkett.
yeah. I can't wait to hear his story. Yeah. He says Hawkett. I say Hawkett. I really don't care.
Yeah. And I say tomato.
Yeah, we learn about that later in the freaking show.
Yeah, tonight is about pronunciations.
It is. Holy crap, this is great. It all ties in. So Off in the Woods, Sean was out in Sloan was out with Sloan checking out Sloan's Gorge. So his daughter Sloan said they spelled it wrong, and I agree totally. I agree with her.
I get it.
I presume she's like 4 to some years old. You go with her. Definitely.
Yeah. I go hiking with her. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So Beyond Blazes, Joanne was up Overlook Fire Tower, then went up Tremper. Double peak day. She killed it as usual.
When I saw her posting those, in real time, I thought, oh, Joanne's going for like the, fire tower challenge in a day. So if somebody could do it, she could definitely do it. So she stopped it too.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Maybe she's just getting warmed up to do all 5 in one day.
True. She could. Tracy Pink Pony 818 was down at Strattsburg State Historic Site, logging in the final days of those 1 mile challenge. So Tracy, thank you once again for participating in the 1 mile challenge. Really appreciate it. We did a freaking fantastic job. So Daniel Passes went up and over Westkill, North Dome, and Sherrill. That was he basically sent the map, and that was about it. So need more details. Give me some hints of how the day went. I really would like to hear how you did over there, because everybody has a different experience, especially going up from Westkill to North Dome is definitely a different experience with everybody.
Yeah. So your inference is she did these. He did these continuously, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. I've done that hike many times. It's fun.
So do you think he biked back?
Oh yeah, he might have, or hitchhiked. I mean, Spruceton Road, if you're going to hitchhike it, my pro tip is hitchhike it in the morning before you start your hike, because number one, if it's in the summer,
True.
You're not all sweaty. And so, people are less inclined to pick up a sweaty hiker, but also in the morning, you got all that hiker traffic driving in. And if they see you carrying a backpack on that road, chances are they're going to pick you up. And I've been picked up hitchhiking on Spruceton several times. In fact, one time, I forget their names. It's on the top of my head, but they own that house with the red falling down barn in the backyard with all the signage on it. They're retired from New Jersey. It's the 4th of July, maybe 2019. They picked me up hitchhiking in the morning. They said, after your hike, stop by for some beers and burgers. So really cool people. So.
God damn.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a hell of an offer.
Yeah. And that's before I was famous for doing podcasts. So. People loved me even back then.
True. So Chrissy G went up Red Hill with the fam. Congratulations. That sounds like a good day. Everybody had a good weekend, and I'm so jealous.
It was beautiful out there.
Yeah, so Rose Girl also went up Eagle. Only one more to go till she completes her 35-minute challenge.
Do you know which one it is?
Oh my God, God damn it, I did have a conversation with her. Hold on. I wanted to figure out October. She said I think she had, oh my God, now you caught me. Outrageous.
Oh, wow.
Okay, hold on. 2 more to go. Sorry, 2 more. North Dome and Sherrill. Danny has to figure that out. I'm planning. She said she planned on sometime in October. So hopefully soon. I hope to plan to join her.
Oh, you are? You're going to go on it?
I'm going to try. Usually it's a Saturday, but
yeah. Well, next Sunday, I'm able to hike this coming Sunday. So
whoa, shit.
I'm apple picking with my daughter in Connecticut on Saturday. So
all right. All right, so we'll figure that out.
So if you want to hike on Sunday, I'm down for it. If not, I'm going to go and do my like next to last trail of the All Trails Challenge.
Well, then we'll figure that out. All right, so Jeff Jotz and Orla went up and did Southwest Hunter on a beautiful day, then jumped off in the water to cool off, and then went to Westkill for some beer. So that sounds like a perfect day to me.
Awesome.
So, yeah. So last on the list is Red Hand Adventure Guys. Mike was up in Waterbury, Vermont, having a grand time hiking and canoeing and just backpacking. Just looked like a phenomenal time. But that wasn't the last one. Sorry. So Joanne also did the Burroughs Range.
Yeah.
So Jesus, these people were out and about this weekend, mostly all on Saturdays.
Yeah.
So if I missed you, I'm very sorry. Contact me. Please let me know I missed you, and I will get you on the next episode as well. So thank you, everyone who tagged us. Really appreciate it. Glad you got out, and hopefully you enjoyed the foliage. I wouldn't say it's as great as crisp and clear as it is, as it was before. But we had some good time. It's been a dry year, so it's tough. It's tough to get the foliage. So also, buy us a hard cider to support the show. If you think we're doing a good job, you definitely want to support, show us some support. Buy us a coffee hard cider on buymeacoffee.com. Also, rate the show anywhere you can rate and support the show. 5 stars is what we only accept. What are you drinking tonight, Ted?
Well, I think we have to go with past tense. What did I drink tonight? I had a duck juice by Zero Gravity, a brewery out of Vermont.
Ooh.
And part of the write-up on this, they say it has a beautifully balanced bitterness and drinks as smooth as a duck on water. And I'm going to agree with that. It's
shit.
It's a 7% IPA. And I've had a few of these, not tonight, but at other times. This is my last in this 4-pack, and it's on my short list to buy again because it's just a well-balanced, very drinkable and enjoyable IPA. So highly recommend it.
Where can you get it?
Beer. I bought this beer at the beer store in New Paltz. I had been going to the local beer store for quite a while to buy beers. I was also getting beers sometimes at Local Goods and sometimes at the Beer Cave in Phoenicia. And I would buying them at the local place in my hometown. Sometimes they're outdated by as much as a year. So you really have to pay attention when you're buying there. And so one day I'm driving back through New Paltz after a hike, and I thought to myself, well, if you want fresh beer, what better place than to buy it at a beer store in a college town where the locals have a tendency to drink lots and lots of beer because they're in college. So sure enough, I went into the beer store in New Paltz, and it's all fresh beer. And so I picked up a variety of fresh beers like the Zero Gravity, which according to the bottom of the can was bottled on June 23rd. So it's just about 3 months young. And they have a great selection. It smells like a beer store inside. Last time I was in there, like some of the displays they had on the ceiling were falling down. So it was more dangerous, I think, than my hike being in the beer store. But getting the beers in there was well worth it. And I highly recommend, again, the Zero Gravity Duck Juice IPA. It's 7%. It's awesome.
Have that tagged in there. So fantastic. It sounds good. I saw you drinking that.
Yeah. So what do you got? What did you have?
So I've had a couple as always. Awestruck Hometown Homicider. So it's like a mix of everything. Inspiration of doing bad things.
Just give us the alcohol content. That's the most meaningful information
is that
to
the
start
most
with.
popular? 6.8.
Okay.
Not bad.
Yeah, it's respectable. Around 7%. I find that around 7% is kind of like a good average.
I agree. And it just gets you to that kind of buzz of where you can kind of like ski down a mountain and stuff like that.
Or just mispronounce a lot of words,
Like documentary.
Yeah.
Documentary.
Documentary about tomatoes in Hawkett Mountain.
Yeah, Hawkett.
There's a lot of inside jokes going on there, fans. But as long as you're mowing your yard while you're drinking your IPAs, you're okay.
You enjoy it. So, previous hikes, Tab. What do you got going on? What did you have going on?
Okay, so what did I have on Saturday morning, which was a beautiful early fall morning? I wasn't in the mood to do something all that strenuous or all that technical. So I did one of my old staple hikes back when I was gridding. I did Eagle, Big Indian, and Fur from Burnham Road.
Strenuous.
Which is a bushwhack up, bushwhack down trail from, I say trail. The bush, technically or non-technically, the bushwhack from Big Indian to Fur is a trail that's not marked. But I did drive through the slide parking lot on my way over at about 8:30. I would say it was 80% full, more or less. I also noted as I was going through the hairpin turn on 47 that they're enlarging that parking area.
No way.
Yeah, they're leveling and spreading pavement or asphalt tailings to firm up an additional parking for maybe another 20 or 30 cars going downhill. Sign of things to come. Next thing you know, you'll need a permit to hike Giant Ledge over there. Yeah. So I got my trusty Jeep over to Burnham Road. I've hiked out of there many times before. And, it was just a pleasant morning, warmer than I expected. But I was at a casual pace. I kind of explored a few of the many logging roads on the way up that ridge going to Eagle. And it was just very cool. There's some level of, there's a few old stone or rock foundations, I think, to prior huts or structures of some form or type. There's a lot of rock cairns marking one of the ways up. But like I said, there's a number of logging roads that you can follow in that area. And it's pretty interesting in terms of the evidence of prior activity, logging activity, et cetera, going up. But the forest itself, in my opinion, it's kind of young. So I made my way up to Eagle. Eagle was the same as it ever was. Hiked the trail over to Big Indian. There was a fellow already there, a solo hiker, hanging out with a big-ass full-frame camera, sitting on the ground. He was really friendly, and I'm talking to him. And next thing you know, I turn around. It was almost like deja vu because there was another solo hiker approaching us with no shirt on. So I had to check to see if he was wearing pants or shorts, given my experience from a few weeks ago running into a naked hiker. This guy, though, thankfully did have pants on. So it's not something that's spreading through the Catskills, naked hiking.
Good.
So at any rate, while I'm hanging out there talking to these two guys, along comes a group of, quite a few people that turns out to have been, they were coming in from Fur. So as you complete the traverse over from Fur to Big Indian, you come up that last steep approach to Fur or Big Indian. So it's like these people's heads start popping up over the edge of the mountain. And so we had a nice conversation. It was Matt, Frank, Rob, Peter, Nick, and Betsy Anderson, sponsor of the show. Yeah.
Did she give you a big hug and kiss?
I don't think I got either. So if she gives you big hugs and kisses, then we know Betsy likes you and she doesn't like me. I'm just joking. We had a very friendly conversation. And it turns out that a few of the people, more than just Betsy, are fans of the show. They had a lot of great things to say about the show, which is always nice to hear because we do it for you guys and gals. But one of the things that was notable about the comments that they made was how much they enjoyed the episode with Kate, and Kate relaying her experience of having sustained an injury that we all dread and hope that it's not us lying on the forest floor someday with that injury. And even one of the fellows there, because I asked them, do they now carry with them pain medicines when they didn't before? And one fellow said, yeah, I got a couple oxys with me right now.
Wow.
So, I think that's one of the takeaways from her experiences. Something can happen to you. And we talk about the 10 essentials, but really the 11th essential is some heavy duty narcotics if you have to wait 6 hours.
Yeah.
When your bones in your lower leg are all busted up. And really just like the thought of breathing on her leg would have been painful to her at that time. And she had just a few ibuprofen. So, but unfortunately, it's not legal to like go into a pharmacy and say, hey, I'm a hiker, I need some oxy. So apparently this guy had some way of sourcing them, presumably by a prior prescription. So at any rate, after hanging out with them for like maybe a half an hour, which was a pretty long time for me, I headed off towards Fir Mountain. I did not stay on the herd path for very long because there are some pretty cool rock ledges in that col. Well, actually just going down slope on Big Indian. I find them to be some relatively interesting rock ledges in comparison to what else you find in the Catskills, given like the nature of the rock layering at that elevation that you see rather consistently, and just how small they are in a hardwood forest. Most often you see those, they're like in a balsam forest, and it's really hard to get a full visualization of them because the trees obscure that view. So I did take some snapshots that I posted on my Insta page if you want to check those out. I think they're cool. Hiking up Fir Mountain, I can't tell you how many times I've been up for quite a few, maybe 20, maybe 22, maybe more than that. Nothing interesting on the way up, but on my way down back to Burnham Hollow Road, I was running well ahead of schedule. I was thinking about picking up like a couple more little trail hikes on my drive home to finish off the all trails, but instead I decided to head to the left, which would have been west, and check out this hemlock grove that was over there. And not only was it it was a small but very majestic hemlock grove of these really large hemlock trees growing out of a very steep slope that just got steeper and steeper as you got further towards like the edge, and it just drops into the cove or the valley below. But there was also a lot of just really, really huge boulders in there that had been kind of plucked out of the existing bedrock through that like glacial erosion, the freeze thaw cycle, and the retreat of the glacier. So I spent all told 50 minutes covering less than a mile because it was just such cool terrain. And then below that hemlock grove, I came to some rock ledges, and they were so substantial in terms of just going right up to the edge and then dropping off substantially into the cove below that I was thinking that I would get some really good views, but the views weren't as clear as I was hoping, but it was just really some really cool rock features over there. So like I spent quite a bit of time over there, and I did not realize that by going and exploring that area, I had gotten so far to the west of the ridge line that it was like almost a mile hike back to the ridge line. So it was one of these hikes where it was only 10 miles long altogether. That last mile or two was just a fucking pain in the ass. Because after doing all that exploration over there and then just to really just side hill back to the ridgeline because I didn't want to drop into private property.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, it was just like so hurtful. And afterwards, I changed my clothes, hopped in the Jeep, drove over to Bread Alone. It was about 3:00. The bakery was like completely sold out of good stuff.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So I picked up a piece of carrot cake for my wife, and then I headed to the other end of that little stub road to Local Goods, where I picked up a Wild East American Pale Ale, which to me tasted more like a hoppy IPA, and a bag of Martin's handmade pretzels, which were fucking great. I'm telling you, man. Oh, they were the best pretzels I've ever had. I wish I had some mustard to go with them. So at any rate, the stats for Saturday, 10 miles, 9K of vert. I can't believe that. I got to double check that. Maybe it was 3 and I wrote 9 for some stupid reason. in about 5 miles, a bag of pretzels and 1 beer. 10 miles, 3K, 5 hours, pretzels and beer.
That sounds good.
That's what I did on Saturday. So it was fun.
Sounds good. Sounds fantastic. I'm glad you ran into a lot of people.
Fans. Once again, they were fans. They liked the show. Right? They love Kate's episode. So
I mean, just the outreach is warms my heart. So I can't wait to actually get out on a weekend day to
maybe this Sunday. But so have you hiked recently? Have you been out there doing your thing?
I did on Tuesday, but nobody's out on Tuesday. So,
just the mountain lions.
Yeah. So Tuesday, which today we're recording, I went up Bel Air. I did the old Deer Run Road, easy stuff like that. And then I disc golfed on the top. So they have a disc golf on the lower 9, and then they have a disc golf up top. And I got to admit, it's super fun to hike up and then kind of chill, drop your packs, kind of chill, do some fun disc golf like you did in the 60s, 70s, stuff like that, 80s, when you were super high. And
super high climbing, like at 12,000 feet.
Yeah. It was super beautiful day. To be honest, the colors aren't as crazy as I thought they would be. I called it cinnamony. Is that the correct term?
Yeah, well, I don't know if that's a term, but I'm sure somebody on Pittsburgh Paints probably makes a paint that color, or Sherwin-Williams. I think there's like somebody that works for those companies that just comes up with stupid names for different colors of paints. But yeah, I overall this year, I would agree.
It's dry.
It's dry. There's more yellow than orange or red. One of my observations climbing up Eagle and going down Fir was that you can really see how the trees at the lower and middle elevations are changing from the top.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's not the whole tree. Changes. So it was really evident.
With Bel Air, you can get a lot of views of different perspectives. I kind of wish they put a fire tower on Bel Air, because you would have a perspective kind of like better than Balsam Lake and such. So you can see, over towards Bear Pen and Bly kind of had some awesome color and a lot of leaves on it. But towards Westkill and Hunter, it seemed like the leaves were kind of dying at the lower elevations and already falling off. And then they were just dark brown going up. And then I could see, we went over, of course, to the top. We got to the summit of Bel Air, and then you were at the what is it called, the log, the high cabin, what is it called,
on the ski area?
Yeah
It's like I think it's called the Sundown Cabin.
You're at the top. You can oversee Balsam Lake, Graham, and Double Top. There's some nice color change there, but not too dramatic. And but in all, beautiful time, beautiful weather, low 70s, wind happening above probably like 3,000 feet, and just overall time. I just getting out in the mountains and just having that reset of just nothingness is just, I can't explain it. I just had that moment of like staring out into the views and just having that time of just serenity and just be like, wow.
It's like going back to 2015 before all this political noise.
Fucking political shit happened, yeah.
Yeah. So.
And it was a great time. I suggest anybody, even though you don't like disc golf, try the Deer Run Road up there. Easy gain, about 1,000 feet. We did 4.5 miles total, which was I thought it was pretty. I was like, wow, with 1,000 feet of gain, which is pretty normal Catskills kind of. And I thought it was actually really fun to just do the disc golf. Ted, I don't know if you back in your college days and stuff, you guys did disc golf and.
Yeah, so we did disc golf, but it wasn't, as structured with the equipment that they have now. I mean, we just say like, okay, the next target is X, this picnic table or this bench or or a trash can. And we'd grab, back then we understood the purpose of why beers came in 6-packs with those plastic carriers is when you took your first one out, you could carry the 6-pack by putting your belt through the open loop on the 6-pack. And, just kind of like a hip pack.
That is wicked.
Yeah. And then, we were like stupid college kids in Pennsylvania. So that's what we did. Now I understand you have like special discs you use, and there's
of course
cages or chain things,
baskets,
baskets and whatnot. No, ours was we were the pioneers of disc golf back then, and those were the days. Those were the days, man. You could listen to Led Zeppelin.
We were actually doing that. We were listening to Led Zeppelin.
Oh yeah. It must be like good. Universal, like disc golf music is Led Zeppelin.
100%. Actually, you're right. AC/DC, disc or Led Zeppelin.
Yeah. What about? All right. So how about Molly Hatchet? You remember Molly Hatchet? Never. That's not heavy metal enough for you. Okay.
No, I'm more of a little harder rock, Creedence Clearwater Revival, stuff like that.
Creedence is not hard rock.
Yeah, I'm sure, but it's disc golf stuff.
You think so? Here, all right. We're going to go somewhat off topic. Creedence, John Fogerty, very political music. You think we'll see that again?
Not at all.
Back in the 60s, early 70s, when guys were getting drafted to go and fight a war that wasn't a popular war, and a lot of them weren't coming back, there was a lot of political music, anti-war music that was getting published. And then we had Kent State. So to me, because I grew up during that period of time, I'm wondering now if we're going to see that level of social commentary, or are people just going to be happy that they can tweet about it and not write songs about it?
True.
So, all
right. Let's get out of that. Yeah.
Well, that's what a bummer I am.
No, not at all. I understand. So awesome previous hikes. Everybody had a freaking enjoyable weekend. We're gonna see some good weather until then. Maybe this weekend. Let's talk about that. Actually, so once again, volunteer. New York, New Jersey Trail Conference, Catskill 3500 Club, Catskill Trail Club, Catskill Mountains Club, Visitors Center, anywhere you can volunteer is a big impact on the Catskills, and it's especially in your local trail organizations. Stickers, if you need them, I've actually had a couple people contact me for free stickers. I give them away for free. I'll just send you free stickers. Just give me your address. Send me a message through social media, and I will give you a free sticker. Also, New York, New Jersey Trail Conference is doing what they call a Trailathon, a fundraiser for the Trail Conference starting October 1st to the 31st. Signups are now live, which be when this airs, we will be definitely going on with it. The Trailathon. Set a personal mileage goal, rally your friends and family to support your journey, then start moving. Log your miles anywhere on the trail, city streets, or even a treadmill. Along the way, you'll earn rewards and other stuff from the trail conference, like mats and gear. So, weather forecast. So, it looks like Friday, I'm sorry. It looks like this weekend's going to be absolutely beautiful from Tuesday. It looks like to be Friday is to be a high of 55 and a low of 43 in the morning. Later on, it's supposed to be 50 in the later afternoons. Saturday, a high of 63 and a low of 54 in the morning, a low of 59 in the afternoon. So that looks like to be an absolute stunning day. Sunday, the 5th, looks to be a high of 66 and a low of 57 in the later day. So it looks to be an absolutely phenomenal weekend to get out and to just have a good time. So I don't know I'm gonna try to get out on the 5th.
Yeah.
So
Well, you need to, because next weekend it's not going to be as colorful.
yes, correct.
Yeah,
So
I think this weekend is going to be the prime weekend.
Yeah,
and then the color is probably going to start to go down.
correct. So get out, have some fun, tag us. It won't count if you don't tag us.
That's right.
Awesome. So let's get on with our last set of sponsors, and we'll get on to Shai of his amazing The Long Path of Journey of Becoming. So discover Camp Catskill in Tannersville, your ultimate hiking store. Find top quality gear, apparel, and accessories for all your outdoor adventures. Our expert staff is to hear and help every hiker from beginner to seasoned pros. We also carry a variety of unique Catskill souvenirs and gifts. Visit us online at campcatskill.co or in the store to gear up for your next journey. Adventure starts at Camp Catskill. Also, discover your love story against breathtaking backdrops with Outdoor Chronicles Photography. Molly specializes in adventure couple photography, and she'll immortalize your moments amidst stunning landscapes of the Catskills, Adirondacks, and White Mountains. She'll craft timeless images that reflect a unique bond in nature's grandeur. Embark on an unforgettable photographic journey with Outdoor Chronicles Photography. Don't hesitate to get a hold of Molly on every single platform. All right, so let's get on to the guest of the night.
Let's go.
So award-winning filmmaker Shai Ben-Dor joins us tonight to talk about his film, The Long Path, A Journey of Becoming. So recently, he did a documentary about how do I say that, Ted? Let's start off, Shai. I need that question. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, the name is Shai. I usually clarify because it's a unique name for some, like Shai, like the emotion, but I'm outgoing.
Okay, so my question is documentary. Am I saying it correctly? Is it documentary or documentary?
Honestly, this is really funny because I find this exact play on enunciation one of the few unique dialect pieces of like upstate New Yorkers, like area, because it's like, is it winter? Is it winter or winter? Like, is there a T in there? Is it documentary or a documentary? I think it's the same. It's like the enunciation on this. I didn't realize it until now, but it is the same winter kind of conundrum.
Wow.
This is where I'm forecasting that tonight we will distill the answer to the question that's evaded civilizations and generations. Tomato or tomato.
Correct.
Yeah, really.
Right.
Tomato. We could do a documentary on that whole topic.
Yeah, I'm going to be so self-conscious around that word all night now, but I feel like I do say documentary.
Okay. So
it is the soft T.
Okay. So Shai joins us tonight. He did a documentary on Kim Levinsky doing The Long Path, the fastest known time woman supported. It was fantastic. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I went to a screening down in Phoenicia, and I was just blown away by how powerful it was. Not just, with the filmmaking, but the message that it brought on. Everything just connected well. And I'm glad to have you on here tonight. We've got Kim here before talking about her role in that, her role in doing it. But I wanted to get a background of this. behind the scenes, Shai doing this crazy stuff of running before her in the pouring rain, stuff like that. It's just, so I'm sorry. I'm babbling on one time. I always do this in the beginning. Sorry, Shai.
Yeah. So here, time out.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah. And I just want, who's Kim?
Oh, yeah. Who's Kim?
All right.
Who's
just forget me. Move on.
So, Shai, welcome to the show. Glad to have you here. How you doing tonight?
I'm good. Excited to be chatting with y'all. I mean, we ran into each other at the screening the other week, and you were like, we're going to make this happen. And here we are.
Here we are a couple weeks later, and we're freaking making it happen. You know, it's great. So why don't you give the listeners a little background about yourself? Childhood up to here, what got you into certain areas like hiking, filmmaking, stuff like that?
Oh, wow.
All in. I say all in, balls out.
So I am, for those who understand the nomenclature, I'm an 845 kid, born and raised. I was born in Middletown, New York, grew up in that section of Orange County, kind of Middletown, and then I grew up in New Hampton, New York, which, like, if you know the way these like tiny counties are spliced up, there's like these middle of town towns that aren't really towns and anything other than a mailing address. So like half the street went to Minnesink and the other half went to Goshen. And if you went a half mile up the road, the kids went to Middletown. And it was right on the edge of what I like to call like rural and suburban New York. Like if you go like 2 miles down the road, it's like similar houses, similar backyards, but then you made a right down the road and it was like the black dirt farming region, like Florida Turnpike, all the way to Warwick and North Jersey on like the edge of New York. But I grew up, my dad had a deep love of the outdoors. I wouldn't say that he was necessarily a peak bagger, didn't really have any experience in the Adirondacks and stuff like that. But like we grew up and he loved heights and cliffs. So like Minnewaska, Mohonk, like every portion of that ridgeline, my family has hiked up and down. I've done Bontecoop Crag more times than I can count. Harriman was always there. Just being a cross country kid in the Hudson Valley, you lap Bear Mountain like 2,000 to 3,000 times in your high school career. So like I realized this much later in life, but we used to scramble to the top of Bear Mountain before our race, like the last race of the season, and on the junior varsity team. And like in hindsight, I was like, oh, that probably wasn't good for times. So fast forward to God, it's such a long story. Filmmaking, I'm going to backtrack here. I got into filmmaking and photography through a family member. My great uncle was a documentary filmmaker in the 70s and 80s and like worked professionally in television up through the early 2000s. And he would throw down his crusty old gear to me when I was growing up, snowboarding and skateboarding and doing all this stuff. So like I was making skate videos of my friends when I was a teenager. Very like classic stuff. We were going to Mountain Creek, we would do snowboarding videos. But that's ultimately what got a camera in my hand. But I would say like, as I transitioned more, or I did more photography, like I always had a camera in my hand to track me. So I was always like filming and shooting, running and participating in it. I think you can already tell that I have like a lot of hobbies. I like really, none of them involve sitting still. And if I am sitting still, I'm like tinkering with something, which I'm sure will tie in later to like the editing portion of it all. But yeah, then I went to Ithaca College for film production and computer science.
The artsy school. That's a good arts school.
Oh yeah, I very frequently call it like the B+ student school, where it was like stupid expensive, but you had everything to play with. Yeah. So like I don't specifically remember too many classes, but I remember constantly being on film sets. That's actually where like my love of trail running and the outdoors, I think really started to connect with me as an adult. Because I think so many of us when we're kids, like it's like our parents bring us along on a hike, and then like you get your car and you're just hanging out with your friends, and like the woods don't draw you out as much. At least it didn't for me in my teen years. Until it kind of like clicked in Ithaca. All of our long runs on the cross country team were single track beauties through Ithaca. The team cap was 20 people, and they would drop you off at one end of the trail, and like most of the upperclassmen knew the trails because they've been doing them for years, and then they led, and then you learn the trail over your years. And I kind of had to unceremoniously leave competitive running my senior year. I graduated early, and it was kind of like graduate early or like run for a full year became one of those credits versus cost versus life kind of things. And trail running really supported me because like I kind of left that comfort and consistency of a decade of competitive running, and you're kind of like, okay, go do life, And I think there's a large portion of where the long path comes from is that kind of reality. I think that so many of us in these outdoor pursuits, who find it in, I would say, like mid-20s on or even later in life, have a sort of structure they leave that like these kind of pursuits hold us accountable to. This repetitiveness, this community. And yeah, I think that kind of leads us a little bit to the long path. I think there's a couple other films in there and a career of a decade of a career of a freelance filmmaker in New York. But I think the spark notes of kind of the childhood inspiration and smaller factors. I'll let you root around in the sandbox. That is my life a little bit further because I'm getting lost now.
No, I totally understand. So you did cross-country running in high school, and then you went on to college. So this kind of brought you to a whole different area of the Hudson Valley, to Ithaca, where Ithaca is gorgeous, basically. Oh, yeah. So a lot of quick up and then flat and then down and stuff like that. So now you're a little bit more into trail running. You're a little bit more away from the crowds and somewhat in Ithaca. But now you're running and stuff. I didn't know this as your background. Once again, you don't say your background that you're a cross country runner. So this kind of plays into the nature role that I didn't see. I didn't know how you got into nature. So that's cool. See, this is why we do this. And it's just fantastic. So the filmmaking you said you brought from your uncle and stuff like that it brought on. Did you just, like you said, you documented skateboarding, stuff like that?
It's just after, I would say, like I'm 31. So it was probably like, I would think back like 2004, 2005. I think it had transitioned into Jackass at that point. Like it was fully like MTV was in full swing. But it was like definitely like we were just getting out of the era of like DV cam. DV cam was going HD. Like you could buy HD DV cams and like all that jazz. But it's like there's a photo of me when my sister was born in the hospital with my great uncle. And I think I'm like 3 years old, and I have the family like camcorder up to my face. So like I think there has been just this like desire to like look through the camera, even from when I was young, beyond young, to understand what it was. I think skateboarding was the first like thing where like the culture like promoted. Where was it? It's Maybrook, New York, another small in-between town, to Goshen. So like 30 minutes up the road, but like there's a whole new middle school. It's like 300 kids. So like skateboarding is how I think I met a lot of people and started hanging out with kids at that age. Cause, I think skateboarding is super unique in that it's, a sport that like fits its container. Like whatever the people are up to that get into skateboarding fits with that. Like you're all kind of doing your own thing while supporting each other.
Yeah.
And I think that really reflects well on like ultra marathon running in so many ways, because it's like that person's trying really hard to land that trick. Like they're going to do everything in their power to stay on and not fall off. I think the lucky part about skateboarding is like you could just like wing it and like you land it first try and you're done and you don't have to suffer. Like that's a win. In like ultramarathon running, like you're going in with the mindset that this trick or this activity you're going to do is going to kind of kick the crap out of you. And I've always found those portions of like the outdoors really engaging of the individual experience. Like it's a really easy access point to humanity. Mm-hmm. So I think as life went on, I think it's all movies are in a sense reflection of self. So I think I certainly am looking at myself. It's like, dude, why are you doing these things? It's like, why did every pursuit you do end up with you just like hyperventilating in a pair of polyester short shorts, or just like bouncing off the concrete or a tree or climbing up a cliff, or like what is it in us that like has this kind of light masochistic desire.
So Shai, you're segueing right into my next segue question.
Brilliant.
Class Action Park. Sound familiar?
You want to know something, honey? I watched the documentary on Class Action Park. My dad grew up knowing it as Action Park, mm-hmm. and was surprised to see it still standing when I grew up. A lot of the things they mentioned in the documentary, I feel like, I hope I don't get like a cease and desist, but I feel like they're still there. Like I remember like watching the film and I was just like, oh, it's not better. It probably like marginally, but yeah, no. I grew up skiing at Mountain Creek, and I was to push it into that direction. I was an absolute, from skateboarding, I was a park kid. So they had the whole side of Mountain Creek that's just south. It's mm-hmm. jumps top to bottom and rails and stuff, but it's like the snow is so bad. Just like every landing is just ice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a flashback or 12.
Yeah, so Stosh, what we're talking about is a ski area in northern New Jersey. That's kind of like an oxymoronic statement, I think. But they also, in the summer, to supplement their income, they had a water park, Action Park. And I never went there to the water park, but when I would go skiing there with my daughters and we would ride up the chairlifts, and you looked at these water rides that they had for the water park, you just looked at them and you say to yourself, there's just no fucking way a day goes by without at least 10 people getting injured on this thing. It's like, it's a search and rescue without the search. I mean, the bodies are just getting thrown out of these things left and right. So in 2000, there was a documentary called Class Action Park about it. And funny thing is that one of the people that's in it is a fellow I know who was a lifeguard down there.
Oh, so that's funny.
Yeah. So, when Shai mentioned his proximity to Action Park, Mountain Creek, and that he would go over there, I had to ask that. So now this is the segue to, I'm getting there, be patient. It's the segue to just what do you do for a living to generate money? That's what I wondered when I looked over and this is not a disrespectful thing. This is just, from what I could see from your webpage, I'm looking at it and I'm saying, okay, he's doing all of these really interesting things. I actually stalked you on like another online thing. I saw you and Kim talking, but I wondered the whole time, are you like a trust fund baby? Just how is it do you generate your economics?
Wow, what a privilege it would be to be a trust fund baby. No, it's so far from it. I'm a freelance filmmaker. In short, what that means is something different every day. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of tiers of the film industry, and so I bounce around what I would call branded content. It's like documentary style commercials, live stream multicam, so like broadcast style things that go on the internet, anything from like 2 to 7 cameras. I edit a fair bit. I try and keep that limited to like certain styles of projects. But yeah, it's really, I am a gun for hire on when you need something specific in a film. So very frequently I will, it's like, hey, we need this role filled at this rate on this day. So I've been, calling together clients and working this way since I left Vox Media back, I think, in 2017 or so. And it was just, so, and I lived in New York City for about 9 years. Only moved out I'm currently in New Haven, Connecticut, by way of my wife, who got work out here. Because I'm freelance, I am a bit tied to nowhere, but very tied to where the money is. But I've always made documentaries and tried to get them funded and kind of had those conversations throughout my career. Like, there's always usually been a project I'm working on the back burner in some way. But, I would say, like, I think The Long Path has probably garnered made, and that's not actually any real money. Most of it's been donations or even just like help putting on the premiere and finishing the things out. But it's really like money in the type of films I like to do, I think, is a weird thing for me. There's a lot of people who are better at fundraising and running businesses like that, but I think I see some of these documentaries from you are such a holistic endeavor, as you've seen with like the mental health programming attached and like kind of the presence of storytelling in this way, where it's like it's not about the mountains she climbs, it's about the journey she takes and how we incorporate that. So it hasn't really gone into film festivals, but those don't really make people money either. Those are just like another megaphone to kind of preach. So we wanted kind of control of it and to have a smaller kind of reach, but it feel much more local in the way it hands off. And it's just been naturally been like dominoes kind of falling down, like, hey, have you met so-and-so? Have you met so-and-so? To the point where, like, I mean, I count it as a huge success that we got 60 people about. I think the final count was 54 in person at Phoenicia Theater, which, like, if you know where Phoenicia is, like, on the average day, you'd be like, yeah, it's like people would be like, are there 50 people here in town? I saw like 20
on Saturdays driving motorcycles. There is 58 people in Phoenicia.
Right.
Yeah. So
right
to pull out
sportsmen.
Yeah, so to pull out 54 of those motorcyclists on a Friday night was like magical. And I think for me, being like a local kid, this movie is super special in the fact that it's like, I don't know how many times have you two had the conversation, and it's like, you're outside of the state somewhere else. It's like, oh, you live in New York? Like, my cousin's in Queens. Do you know them? And it's like, no, I don't live in New York. I live in like New York. It's like, oh, that looks like a dense patch of forest where like there's not that many people. It's like, yeah, it's kind of a lot of it. It's most of it. And I think The Long Path also kind of like, you talk to bring my life together. And the first question, so I guess I'll circle it back to that. It's like The Long Path to me represents like so many different portions of my life, because having worked that decade in the city, having grown up, I haven't even brought this up yet. This probably would have been very important to say. My childhood home was actually on one of the road sections of The Long Path. Like, there were these aquamarine blazes on the telephone poles that I had no idea where they went. And like, cross-country runner, I go on long runs. I'd never find the end of where this blaze went. Until in college, I was working at a camping store and I was bored. There was no one in there, and I was looking at maps. And I was like, oh, there's this trail called the Long Path, and it goes from Albany, and oh, that's Goshen. That's what those blazes were for all those years. So it wasn't until I was like 22, 23, after growing up there from like the age of 12, that I was like, oh, this is this trail that connects kind of everything, even portions of my first film, The Long Trail Out, we attempted The Devil's Path at one portion, and I completely on accident filmed a portion of The Long Path as I did The Long Trail Out. Like, I tucked into this exact same nook in The Devil's Path for Kim's film that I did in my first film like a decade earlier.
Interesting.
And something to dig in with my therapist. But it's funny how like sometimes as you like continue to try and refine where you want to be, you kind of end up in places you've already been. And it's kind of been this unique circle with this film is to kind of come back home in a more genuine way. I think I'm someone who likes to be kind of like quiet and out of the way. I don't really like make a hullabaloo of myself. But this film feels like it's been a really nice journey to like bring home back to itself in like a new perspective, if that makes sense. So that's why I like
so
the Phoenicia screening. Go ahead, interrupt me, please.
Sure, yeah. Before we dive into the documentary itself, just out of my own curiosity, what contemporary documentary filmmakers inspire you and why? Don't roll your eyes. Don't roll your eyes like it's not a good question. I thought it was a good question.
No, I'm not rolling my eyes. I'm looking up in my brain to sift through the pile of inspiration and see like who fits where. Because I love a whole slew of things. I really.
Who would you like to work with then? Who would you like to like hook up with and do a job?
In terms of films, I would say Bing Liu has been my favorite director. He did Minding the Gap, was a skateboarding documentary that really focused on child abuse in the Rust Belt, but it was so intimately told from the perspective of the filmmaker and so naturally followed things in a verite style. And then when it didn't, it was so clear in the hand it was showing in that like even the interviews felt like they were part of the verite because it was just part of this intimate conversation. That was one of the first films in years that just truly made me cry. I like deep emotional films that like really stir up kind of what it means to be here and what it is we go through. I was a huge fan of Meru and Free Solo, in terms of outdoor films. I think Jimmy Chin is phenomenal. He's become, a lot more prolific and I think star-studded than when I first started following him when he was like super gritty, part of the North Face kind of thing. I know he still is, but like that Meru era. Like I've seen that films more time than I can count. I think that there's a whole different conversation behind that film with Conrad and all that stuff. But I like Renan Ozturk as well. I think the work they do is really powerful. My friends, I would say like Paige Bethman and like Jess Epstein are Paige directed Remaining Native, which is a feature documentary I shot over the course of 2 years, and Jess was the producer for that. And they have become absolute powerhouses. The film premiered at South by Southwest this year in the feature documentary category, and they've been on an absolute whirlwind of taking that around the country and world. They must have screened it at least over 6 or 7 dozen times. And like their dedication to impact beyond the film and Indigenous reconciliation and healing. The documentary was on Native American boarding schools and an athlete running in his great-grandfather's remembrance.
Interesting.
And so they, just to be a part of that one was kind of like, oh, I'm kind of right where I need to be and am supposed to be and what I've been like, you do all these side projects, you talk about how do I make money? It's like the days where you somehow find the funding to work with your friends to do projects that make the world a better place is like always the goal.
Mm-hmm.
But
wow. So I see that, Shai, that like filmmaking kind of process is to talk about like mental health, talk about the struggles, but talk about also how these people have overcome them. That seems to be like where you are coming from, correct?
Yeah, I think it's two parts because I think it's a very important message that we've been trying to do with the long path is to acknowledge struggles without diminishing them. I think it's so easy in so many of these films to get to the end and be like, oh, and we did it. Hooray. You know? Whereas I feel like the long path really kind of poses the question and the statement that it is okay to not be okay, yet you can still accomplish these hard things. And you don't have to do them alone. Where we're trying, you know, we want to hold tight to that spirit of adventure because that's like it's so true to the core of why so many of us, I think, pursue these things. But to make sure we're taking care of ourselves and each other in the process. It's not just about achievement. It's as much, you know, I think in a super saturated creative world, I use this phrase a lot differently, but it's not what you do, it's how you do it. You know, there's so many people doing everything, but it's the nature of like how you're presenting this in your own unique light with your desires to it defines everything of what it is. Because there's Kim's FKT will be broken one day.
Yeah, true. So let's break into that discussion. So you're talking about more about the long path and stuff like that. So how did this come about? How did you and Kim connect to make this documentary about this?
The answer of a documentary is always with a documentary. I was finishing another film on native New Yorker Michael Ortiz. He was running a project he called Game of Hundos, where he was running a 100-mile race or run every weekend for 100 consecutive weeks.
Jesus.
In remembrance of his brother. So that film I shot, I think, 3 of his final 10, and his last one culminated in New York City. And Kim just happened to be there at the finish. And if you know Kim and Sasquatch Trail Running, Kim custom makes all her own medals out of wood. She has this large wood laser engraver and cutter, and she had made Michael a belt buckle for his final 100, and it had Game of Hundos on the outside, and you opened it up, and it had like a wood burn photo of Michael and his brother on the inside of the belt buckle. And I was just like, who? Also, like, keep in mind, when I saw this, I had been awake for about 40 hours chasing this man around New York City. And I've filmed ultra marathons. I think it's up to like 5 or 6 states now, anywhere from 50 Ks to 100 milers. Nothing plus yet. No, that's not true. The long path was 358 miles of insanity, so that counts. But nothing was worse than doing it in New York City. It's just so hard to get around, and the runners are just kind of crisscrossing all over it willy-nilly. But anyway, I spoke to Kim and got her information that day. She was just starting Sasquatch Trail Running. This was in 2020, where she was in the early stages of it. But she was running races in already some of my favorite places in the Hudson Valley, and kind of places I was like, oh, there hasn't been like a trail running space here, races or like the use of the trails in that manner. So I started following her, and she started being more vocal about her mental health journey through her pages, kind of like, hey, I've been struggling. I found therapy. I've been working with this organization, Bigger Than the Trail, who's been a partner with us in making this film. They provide cost-free therapy for, I believe it's 2 months, for anyone over 18. Really, you just have to go up to their website, sign up, and they'll set you up with online therapy. That's how Kim got started. And it was around the time I was starting my own mental health journey. Fast forward a couple of years, Kim announces she's wants to run the long path. And part of it is to raise awareness for mental health, and money for Bigger Than the Trail. And I just cold reached out to her. I was like, this is like kind of, I think documentary is interesting because it is real life. Like, you have a really good story and like you have a really good time to tell a story. And sometimes those don't line up, and it's, not that it's not worth pursuing, but it's not going to have the same punch. I could have done a story on Kim and Sasquatch and not running the long path, but that just united so many interests and like pieces of things I'd already been looking at. I was always curious in Kim as a character. I think what she brings to the community is so real. I like to think of the subjects I like most are like the everyday people in every town in the world. Like there's coaches, teachers, like people who just kind of have their heads down doing the good work because it needs to be done, not asking for any recognition. Kim even said on that first phone call, like, I don't know why you would want to make a movie on me. And in my head, I'm like, oh, she's perfect. Like, that's it. It's like she doesn't want me here.
She's real.
Yeah, she's absolutely a human. And so, yeah, it was really like when she said the words "the long path," I'd been kind of obsessed with that trail a little bit on my own and been working on mental health advocacy and in other forms, and just like the stars aligned. And then it was like time to do it, which is a whole different story than like cold calling someone. It's like, can I follow you?
Well, then there we go. Next question.
Yeah. Do I assume the next question, or you guys want to drop it in there? I feel like I segued myself.
I'd like to wait like 10 seconds.
Yeah, right. Well, right now, Stosh is covering because right now he and I are playing rock, paper, scissors, decide who goes with the next question. So as usual, I won because I threw out scissors and Stosh had paper. So you lived on, unbeknownst to yourself at the time, you lived on a section of the long path. You start talking to Kim about her effort to do the fastest known time on it. What preparation went into getting ready to do the filming? Because it's not like while she's doing a fastest known time attempt that you can like stop her and reset whatever it is that you need to do a documentary, to catch up with her, to redo something. So what were the logistics in terms of planning to do this? It's like one take, I guess, kind of something you filmmakers use. So what were these preparations in terms of not only the equipment and the filming logistics, but in interfacing with her and understanding what she was going to be doing and how you could tag along without being in the way?
Yeah. I mean, that's really what I try and pride myself on being, but not intrusive. So much of my job is to be there, but not, especially like and sometimes like I've been in really interesting situations where I have to really not be a part of things, but I'm really wearing a whole lot of equipment. I find that humor is the best way usually to disarm that. I have this giant rig and I'll just call it my dork snorkel sometimes. And it's like, don't worry about the man and the robots. It's just a nerd in a jacket.
So is this all like based around like your body and stuff like that? Like you have those, God, what is it called? Not self-sustaining, the cameras, self-balancing and stuff?
Well, I never, honestly, for this, so the gimbals are like the robots that like auto-correct level and forward and front back. It kind of just feels like this drifty kind of floaty thing. You see a lot of those in outdoor films. I actually purposely chose not to use one of those on this. But the equipment I used was two Blackmagic Pocket Cinema cameras, the 6Ks for the nerds out there. And I had basically two of them set up. I had one that was a run and gun package where it was like small battery, small monitor, like just a couple extra batteries in my pocket, and that one would go running with me. And running is a loose term. Like Kim is like top speed, probably going at like 15-minute miles. So she's not like flying, but I will say I don't think I've experienced anybody who just moves as consistently as Kim. Like if you hiccup, she's gone. Like you could catch up to her, but it's going to take effort. And then you're going to be moving again when you get there. We would, my producer, Seamus, and I'll get into all the things Seamus did, would make jokes that every day Kim would get a new pacer and then she would assassinate them. Because over the course of that day, that pacer would end up doing anywhere between 30 to 45 miles and usually about 7 to 10K in vert. And it was 90 degrees most days. So Kim was like a zombie. She would come in and it's like, oh, good, she killed another person. It's like, what day are we on? Yeah, that's 4 people. That's 4 days. Just called her the assassin. But the one camera was the small follow. So like that one could fit in a backpack. I could cover it up if it would rain. And then I had another larger camera rig that lived at the car with kind of my backpack rig. It's what it does is it's like an overhead hook that dangles with it has just like a wire that dangles up front and connects to the camera. And what that does is it's like an equal counterbalance. So I could just let my hands go and the camera just dangles in front of me, but I can like pick it up or down and it kind of stays. So it's kind of like I can wear the weight on my body, but this allowed me to put like a bigger monitor, a bigger battery on this camera. And this is what I would view as kind of like our crew camera. Because I wanted the film, I wanted you to feel like you were kind of a crew member. You didn't always get to see what Kim was seeing on the trail. Sometimes in the film, like Kim just like, she's out. She's like, okay, well, we cleaned up her feet and like we fed her some food and she's gone. And we just kind of hope she's okay. Sometimes you're like in the van with the crew, kind of like, she's really not doing well. And sometimes you're with Kim on trail and she's like, man, I'm really not doing well. That's a lot of the first third of the film is like, oh man, it sucks out here. And I feel bad too. And then it kind of evolves into this, why do I feel this bad? And her friends start asking her these questions of like, well, there's other ways to deal with how bad you feel. And this is where it kind of, I think there's little clues leading up to that point in the film that it is a mental health film rather than an ultramarathon running film. But I think it very casually slips in there around like day 2 or so of the run.
Well, you say it slips in there casually. Was that by intention? Was this like a soft script of navigational landmarks that you guys were going to hit in the filming along the way, that by day 3 we want to be talking about this topic? Or was this just a natural, unscripted progression of the run?
I think this really goes into the editing portion of the whole game, where it was like these films are really simple and really interesting and difficult. Like there is a logical pattern of the way things happen. There's 2 simultaneous journeys that I'm trying to weave together at the same time. There's Kim's mental health journey, right? Where she came from, like how she got into therapy, where she is now, that all the feelings that come with that. And then we have the long path, which I don't think we've explicitly said it in this conversation yet, but that week and a quarter of weather that we experienced was like, I categorize it as biblically bad. Like the amount of rain that week probably made Noah go like, oh, yeah, we should get in the ark.
Mm-hmm.
So like, it wasn't an easy week by any stretch of the imagination. I'm losing the thread here because I'm just thinking about how much rain was on our heads.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the,
yes,
to what extent was there like a discussion beforehand or some level of understanding beforehand?
Yes.
How her narrative and how her people would interact with her, or was that just all ad-libbed, natural, as if you weren't there and a documentary wasn't being done? And if you want to mull that over on one side of your brain and answer another question while you're mulling that over, what we'd also like to know is you're out there with presumably all this expensive electronic stuff that's somewhat fragile, and there's this biblical weather that's summoning Noah's great grandson to build another ark. So how'd you keep the equipment dry and usable and have this long path, fastest known time progress without it coming across that this was, a made for Hollywood production, if you will?
Yeah. I think I can answer these kind of 2 for 1.
Good. Excellent.
So to go back to, I did get lost in the rains. But it was weaving those 2 narratives together was, the trail story, the stories have to naturally fit into each other. So you have to find the breaks and where the puzzle pieces fit together, along with like the natural build. I think we had a lot of times where we edited it and it was too much of an ultra running film, and then times where we made versions like, that's too much of a mental health film. It's like, I don't even know where she's running. She's just sad. And, and then sometimes like her like mental health like climax would build at 10 minutes, but then there's like another 30 minutes of hiking. It's like, okay, I don't care that she's still on the trail anymore. She's like reached like the end of her mental health. So it was like this really intricate dance and like losing a lot of pieces, stretching some, and then like ultimately it's like you don't have everything you want in the basic structure of like what I'm paid to do on a day-to-day basis. Let's say I shoot like a little pharmaceutical ad where they have one of the interviews and then they're walking through the flowers or whatever. It's the rule of thumb is you film what you have, you ask them questions about what you have footage on, or you film what they talked about. And there are some times in the interviews where like Kim would talk about this really magical moment that she had on trail. And I was just like, yeah, we don't have that. So I'd be in the edit. It's like, what do I do with this? I think a brilliant example is I missed Kim running through my whole hometown. Like she went like Superwoman one night on the Heritage Trail. I think it was something like she ran a marathon between like 11 p.m. and like 6 a.m. Just in the middle of the nights on like back roads and pavement. And so this is where I'm going to answer the question of your batteries and charging, because this is when it all stopped working. I drive a 2010 Toyota Prius. For all the car guys out there, I'm super sorry. It's my dream car. It's incredible. I've saved so much money in gas. I got it at 85,000 miles. I've put 100,000 plus on it. It's been hit and run. It's been bumped into in New York, and she still goes. But we put a whole life in there. Camping gear for 2, those 2 cameras. I learned in my documentary travels that and thieves don't write down my license plate number. The best way to travel with cinema production gear is a large plastic bucket with a blanket in it or a furniture blanket in it, because you just go to the passenger side of the car and you pop the tub bucket off and you pull one of your 2 cameras out and then you put the tub on. So like that kept everything dry. The little rig I had has like a silly umbrella underneath it. I look stupid, but it kept me dry when I was doing all those rain scenes outside by the crew. Some of people's favorite shots of like the God rays coming through the rain over in the Burroughs Range in the film, some of those were shot with my phone. because it just kept downpouring at random increments that day. And I was just like, screw it. Like, the sunlight is too beautiful right now. I don't have time to futz with, like, even the burrows. I forget where I was. At one point I had like the camera, a drone, a battery, 2 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And I'm just on the trail with Kim for like 10 miles. Cause sometimes there was no other way out. It was through. So basically on day 7, time caught up with us. I had these really fast hard drives that were very quick to dump footage on. But when those were full, I would have to switch to this slower, bigger hard drive. I literally couldn't keep my laptop charged long enough to back up the cards on this by day 6. I had filled up everything else. So I called a friend's mom who still lived in the area. They had redone their basement into like a elderly person's apartment that no one lived in yet. And our plan was to rest for 4 hours there. And what we're going to do is we're going to go out, we're going to film all of the Goshen and Heritage Trail stuff that we wanted of Kim running at night. And that would be it. We wouldn't really need to film her running at night because we're going to cover all of it. And artistic different ways so we could cover different pieces that we needed to shoot over. I watched our alarms went off and I watched my producer like roll over and like poke his water bottle as if it was his cell phone alarm and then roll back over. And I was like, oh, we need a break. This is like, I've just like burnt this dude out to the nth degree that he's just like not even present anymore. And we woke up the next morning and Kim had run like 27 miles. It was like, it was her greatest chunk of the whole run. And now I think it lives on in the film as like a really impressive graphic. Not a little spoiler for those who haven't seen it, but each day ends with a counter of how far she's gone that day. And it's just like out of nowhere on day 6, I believe.
That's a good spoiler, Shai. I got to admit, like seeing that the one day and then her journey of that day and then the next day, it's very like, ooh, what's she going to do today? What's she going to do the next day? It's a good teaser, man. That's why they should watch the freaking film. I have a link in it. So what was that? No, hold on. Quick question, really quick answer. What was you said you can rent it for $3.57 or something like that?
Yep, $3.58. It's a silly number, but it's 1 cent per mile of the long path. So pray they don't connect it to the Adirondacks because I'll have to charge more if they extend the trail. But no, that was just we wanted to keep it. The goal is to get it in front of communities as much as possible. So, I know we lose some people by the paywall just a little bit, but like our whole goal is to have people shoulder to shoulder seeing it together and kind of thinking about this mentality of community and crew and, but at the same time, we want people to be able to see it like in the comfort of their own home. I think what drew us away from the YouTube of it all, like, why not just release it on YouTube? It's like the largest network. Everyone goes there. Everyone has it. But a mentor of mine was just like, hey, it's like, then YouTube is making money off of what you put so much work into. So we've been really committed to this kind of like grassroots effort of, taking this film where we shake hands on the places we walk, so that Kim and I can show up. But beyond that, we do have an entire classroom programming booklet that we've created that can coincide with the film. We've got a screening for a school coming up later this year for their entire faculty. We screened at Hackensack Middle School earlier this year with their Happy Feet hiking program. Which is a group of kids who have actually now been starting to come out to Kim's trail races and run their own 10Ks on trails, etc. So it's been neat. Like I said, just kind of like bringing the community back to itself. Because I think the energy that Kim's putting out is the right energy to be shared. It's really familial without being, I think, oppressive. And I think that's what I want this message to be, and why the film is like a gentle touch in terms of the mental health journey. Like, I think I want to address your question from before. It's like, did I know this message going into it? And the answer is 100%.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question is to ask, the double meaning. A lot of people don't realize that this movie has to do with mental health, and that, it's a journey of her discovering herself with long distance running.
Yeah. I think it's also just as much a reflection of her journey without long distance running.
Sure.
And who she is like beyond that, and how the community supports her either way. Like, she didn't need to finish that trail for their love. They loved her regardless, and they let her know that. And they questioned her pursuit with genuine care for her well-being. And I think like, I think that's like the hoo-ah mentality, like, not trying to bring Marines into this. It has nothing to do with them. I just chose their slogan a little bit. But Kim's races have like extended cutoff times. There's rucking divisions. Like, it's trail running without the intensity of like, you gotta finish. It's really about coming out and being there with everyone, while everyone just kind of pursues what they want to do. There doesn't have to be this fastest mentality. To be honest, Kim actually went out there to try and get the overall FKT. She had scheduled it and was like, actually, I think I could take down the whole thing. What the other thing we discussed about the mental health aspect was how far we were going to delve into Kim's story. I think so often so many films become very vividly about one person's trauma. I think there's a lot of dialogue now in the documentary world about what is trauma porn. Like, when you're just utilizing someone's like disheartened life for the better gain of your film. And that's another reason, like, we don't directly address in so many ways like what Kim has or hasn't experienced in terms of her specific traumas, but we speak heavily on the experiences that come along with that, and the emotions that we can all feel going through difficult times in our life, whether that's the death of a family member, whether that's depression and suicidal thoughts, especially to mention on the last day of Suicide Awareness Month in September. Is like, all of our struggles are our own, but we don't have to deal with them alone. Like, we have people who can help us, like, they can't take the steps for us in our FKTs, for lack of a better phrase.
Yeah.
But we don't have to walk any of those steps alone.
Correct. And that's, it shows in the film of the people that support her, that kind of influence her to keep on going and stuff like that. So now, I mean, let's get away from Kim. Kim's already been talked about 3 episodes and stuff like that. Shai, what about you with your post-production and stuff like that? This requires a lot of work, a lot of effort. Once again, I do a podcast. This is not anything. This is 2 hours of recording compared to what you had to do. So can you go over like total stats, hours filmed, hours spent editing, time spent like second guessing everything? Like, that's tough.
Yeah, it's I spent a little bit of time spinning my wheels. Right when I started was like, there was so much. And also, like, I grew up going to so many of these places. So just like memories were getting sifted up into different things. It's like, do I have that shot? Was that shot something I lived? Like, did that not happen? Was that something I was just there for, but I didn't film? Like, I remember Kim saying this at this point. And I ended up bringing on my friend Ben Still to actually help with the editing process in the earlier phases through like the middle. So he went through and he made what's called like selects of all the stuff, and kind of like, and he isn't an ultra runner, but he is a documentary filmmaker. So it's like, okay, like, what sticks out to you? I'm also looking for these kind of storylines, like, pick the best out of the days, loosely arranged them, and then he did the first couple of passes at the film. I think he worked on it for about 6-7 months.
Wow.
And then I kind of as like a part-time thing, I didn't really have the money to pay him as like a 9 to 5 kind of aspect, but we worked, and then there was like a handoff period where we worked together for a while, kind of just kicking it back and forth, exploring what it could be. And yeah, I think at that point it was around 20 minutes, and it just kept getting bigger. Usually I've had the experiences where I cut a film fat and it gets smaller. I think I wanted this film originally to be 15 minutes. It just certainly wasn't. It just didn't fit. No, not at all. Because originally it was like this concept of like, I wanted it to tour with all these film festivals, and like, my films end up in this weird length where they're just too long to be short and too short to be long, which is 40 minutes is the perfect freaking definition for that. But it took, Kim finished in July of 2023, and the film premiered beginning of May 2025.
Wow.
So it was just about 2 years of work. And oh God, I mean, this is where Seamus was really my savior in so many ways, because he comes in so many ways from comedy and a script writing background. So he has such a surety in story and a process of like handing off information. I think you've already realized in this conversation that my running joke is that sometimes I have ADHD and sometimes I have 90 HD. And you just got to watch out for if I have 10 plus HDs or if I'm just at the normal level.
Get that. Nice.
So he's, I have vibes and feelings and emotionality in spades, but sometimes like that doesn't do the best to tell a story. So he's always a good person to like sit there. I think Tad actually did it in the beginning, and it's like, and who's Kim?
Yeah, right.
I remember once, I'm gonna do my best not to swear blatantly, but I had revamped a cut in the intro.
Please.
Just say whatever the fuck you want.
Exactly. But I had revamped an intro of the film, and I hadn't properly introduced someone. And like Seamus and I were in like our final, I think it was like 72-hour push to finish the film. Like it had to be done by this Friday. It had to go to like color and sound and all these other things that were just like out of my hands. So it could be done in time for the screening in the theater. And like, we're selling tickets. I don't have a movie done yet. And like, the Kim's friend pops on screen, and like Seamus just goes, "Who the fuck is that?" He's like, "We're 3 minutes in. You haven't told me who that is. You can't just drop her." So he's one of my best buds. It's like he's the type of person who you could throw in a car for 10 days. I think I want to sidestep this process and just give like a little like moment to Seamus, because he's not an ultramarathon runner. He's not even quite a big backpacker. He is just like one of my best buds from the film production world in the city, and we went to college together but didn't really meet until the end. He was kind of between gigs when I did Game of Hundos, and he hopped on for that, and like really like when I say like I have ADHD, like it's not helpful for Seamus. The kind of things I do in the forest that you're like saying, "Oh my God, you like run after her." It's like someone's got to pick me up. And that's like usually Seamus. So there's stories in Game of Hundos where like I left my cell phone on the passenger seat and I run up the mountain, and Seamus has to look at the map and go, "Well, the course goes this way, so I'm going to assume that he's going to pop out of this trail on the other side of the mountain at 1 a.m. And I'll just have to be there with my headlamp and hope I can pick him up." Whereas Seamus got smarter for this film, and for the final crossing over the George Washington Bridge, she put an air tag in my backpack because I can't be trusted to track myself. But he makes sandwich. He ran the whole audio rig, head navigator, head crew on my end. I like a certain separation of church and state when we're doing these films, but very quickly in all these ultra pursuits, Seamus and I become part of the family, you know, in a night. And it's important to have someone with you when you're running this small who is that malleable, that personable, that funny, you know, like.
So Shai, are you saying that 24/7 you and Seamus were on the same page and getting along in that little Prius, like honeymooners out doing your first documentary together?
No way.
What am I hearing, Shai? That was you and Seamus have a little. Was there like, did fists, get exchanged between the two of you? What's going on?
Never thrown fists. I think we did have one blow up early on, I think, on that trip where it was just like, and it's just bullshit. And it's like,
tell us about it, because we know Seamus is not going to listen to this. So speak freely.
No, Seamus is a grump. And I can make Seamus grumpy with some of my antics. And like, it's just, there's so many. This one night, there's a video and a blooper reel that will inevitably come out where my camping gear had enough. After like half a decade or more of use regularly and the stresses of this journey, it started to just break. At one point, I had to throw an additional tarp just over top of my tent because it was pissing rain so hard that the seams were like dripping so much they were almost running. And Seamus has a selfie video of the two of us, and he's like, "Isn't this great? Oh, I'm sure glad I'm not an accountant or something. Like, wouldn't you much rather be? I can't imagine sitting at a desk 9 to 5 every day. Like, isn't this awesome? We're making movies." And then the nights where I set up my ultralight tent for Seamus, and he's like, "What is this garbage? Like, I'm not sleeping in this wind tunnel, this cartoon A-frame tent with a loose bug net with your trekking poles." And I was like, "Well, you could sleep in the hammock." And he just like, he slept in the car. And then the last and final, I mean, I just have to say, I would not have survived without him, point blank. But the final thing is, by the end of the trip, I think Seamus was shorter. Seamus is about like 6'2", maybe 6'3". So like, I drive my Prius at, I think I'm like 5'9" on a good day when I take my vitamins. And I drive with the Prius seat 90% of the way back. So like, Seamus was having some serious lumbar support problems by the end. And I think it was just like, I think the moment that like really defines the trip is just like, we lived in New York City at that point. We were still in Brooklyn. So like, we ended at George Washington Bridge. Like, everyone goes home to Jersey. Like, we're going home, and we were just at our local pub getting like a beer and a burger. My wife and my dog was there. And we just like looking at each other after like this 10 days of getting just barraged in the woods and like sleeping in the Prius. At one point we went to go like sleep at like over by Lake Skinatati in Harriman. And like, we woke up to rain so heavy and the parking lot was full of 3 inches of water. So then at like 4 a.m, we have to relocate the car to someplace else up the road because we're like, we don't know how high this water is going to get. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. This journey is so absurd because there's so many micro things that happened.
Before we move on, I just want to know, 10 days in the Prius with 6'3" Seamus. You guys weren't showering every day, were you?
We found a couple of showers.
Okay, so you had a couple of showers over 10 days.
Have you ever been backpacking? Come on.
Yeah. So no, but these guys, it's not like they're really out backpacking. And plus, they're out on the trail all day long. They must have been pretty ripe in the Prius.
True. In a Prius.
I was worse. I was the worst because I was the one on the trail most of the time. And there was one particular day where I was like told off and made to go take like a sponge bath. At one point, he's like, "Dude, it's like
who told you off?"
Seamus, the dude's marinating in me. It's unfair. Yeah, the car was like, and it's not even just that. It's just like, I don't know if you've ever been like on a rainy backpacking trip, but like, there's just like no getting away from the dampness of it all.
Mm-hmm.
Like no matter how hard you try, something somewhere in the car is wet with an odor, or like something hasn't quite dried from the day before, or like it was just like anything that was paper was pretty mashed down in the food kit. There were like paper towels. There's so many micro stories of absurdity with that car that I can't even begin to.
So let's go from the micro story. This will be my last question because I know Stosh is like giving me baseball signals here, which is a good reminder to check the Yankee score. But before I do that, I want to know, had any of your films ever before debuted on the big screen in one of those, old vintage movie theaters like this one? And if not, or even if so, what did it feel like to like this thing have its debut in one of these old, traditional movie theaters on a big screen?
Yeah, that's there's so many layered pieces to that. Because the answer is actually yes. And it was actually not to downplay the Hawthorne Theater for having us that time, but my first film, The Long Trail Out, of a similar name, premiered in an old theater in East Aurora, New York. It was a one-screen theater, literally, where you turn the corner and like there it was. It was about 300 seats, that theater. This one was just shy, but yeah, the first time was, I mean, it's sort of inexplainable because it's everything you want, but nothing that I want at the same time. Like it's a horror show. Like with this, like they're telling me there's 200 plus people here because I made a thing and they're all going to stare at it. Like after I've spent like 2 years agonizing over it frame by frame, and like I still have, like, if I could make a sheet of notes, the things in the film I could edit, I would.
Right.
But like I'm a perfectionist, and like it's hard to let go. I think there's a vast amount of imposter syndrome leading up to it. And ultimately it's a hit of dopamine you can't replicate that I find utterly destructive. I struggle with it before, during, and after. But ultimately it's the process that keeps me coming back. It's been the trickle down effect of releasing it. I think so often it's the theater is one thing, but I think it's really just like letting it out of the box that is so incredible, because every audience is in a weird way, this is so wee-woo, but is its own organism, is its own like collective of people with their own set of experiences and ideologies and feelings and like things that are going on in their life. And there's a lot of really deep Easter eggs that like really mean a lot in the long path to me, and mental health ideologies that I struggle with that even I think it's like very, very subtle, but there's even hints towards suicidal ideation at a portion of the long path that's like very subtle. And just the response has been incredible. Just to hear people chuckle at something that I thought was funny and holds in the film, or to hear people like gasp at what I hoped. It's like it's like I'm not I don't write sheet music, but I'm trying to conduct human emotions to make people vulnerable enough to explore themselves. I think definitely. So much of our ideology is like, you can't you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And just to let people know that it's okay to have these feelings, and it's okay to ask for help. You could be in awe of what Kim's doing, but I think like all of us are on our own journeys that are just as impressive when we take the time to consider what we need. Because in the end, like, we really can't do for others if we don't take care of ourselves at our core. So if we all took care of ourselves a little bit, I think we'd all be better off.
Yeah. So Shai, with this film, The Becoming, and such, with your filming, do you think your message got out there to these screenings and stuff that you've done, with not even just that, but with you're just projecting it onto the internet and stuff like that? Do you think you got your message out there? You and Kim told people like this is what it is.
Yeah, I really do. There's been a couple of really special responses we've received individually that have more than exemplified that, like, what we put out there is being received. The conversations that we've had after each screening have been really wonderful. I think sometimes even the smallest screenings end up having the deepest conversation because it just becomes like an open floor. We've had times where people are just talking to each other about their depression and anxiety. And, you know, I think often those of us with mental health, I don't want to call them issues, but struggles, feel like that's a part of ourselves we need to hide because it's not the polished aspect. It's not the aspect that we ourselves want, you know? Like I was, I talked about being a cross country athlete, but I don't talk about that. Like I used to throw up before most races because I would get so hyped up and nervous. And I used to struggle to like sleep away from home for so much of life. And then my pursuits kind of became the opposite of that, to overprove that I was bigger and more than, but I could never get rid of these anxieties and these deep set depressions that I had always lived with. So it was until I learned to accept myself and my struggles for what they were, I wasn't really able to move past them because it's not something you move past. It's something you move with. So I think, I think especially now in the world we're getting to a point where we're starting to poo-poo vulnerability again. And I think that's really dangerous because when people start hiding what's going on, they stop looking for ways to get better. And I think it's also super important for us, like as communities, to learn to identify what that looks like in people and to reach out a hand. That's what our whole programming is about, is learning how to ask for help and learning how to provide help. So, we're not teaching good mental health. We're trying to encourage peer-to-peer mental wellness through the metaphor of crew.
Human connection. Mm-hmm. That's the way I see it. Is you can do something telehealth. You can do something over the internet. I try to connect with this podcast, kind of connect people. I feel like I'm doing a pretty good job with that, but human to human connection, face to face, stuff like that is a whole different story. It catches you different. It makes you feel a little bit more humble inside. And, like you said, taking somebody out, on a hike that, has been struggling with life and, struggling of answering the questions. It connects them with you, that you're with them, you're here for them, you're here to provide that stability. But then nature is also there with them to give them that kind of relief, kind of give them that sigh. And, watching the movie was phenomenal. Just I didn't know that, it was that much of a struggle with her. And you kind of portrayed that beyond what I could even be capable of, because, once again, you said those little times of where it would be like 27.7 miles, but 10,000 feet of gain. You're like, holy shit. Wow, she killed it this day. And then there's like, 3-4 inches of rain on this day, but she covered 30 miles. And it's just phenomenal. But, I saw that when I watched the screening, as I felt that. I was just like, the connection that you make between, being out in nature, being out with someone, being out with, like you said, your crew. It gives you that stability, to give you that confidence, like, I can freaking overcome this. like, fuck this. Like, I have my friends, I have nature, I can do this. Amazing job, Shai. Very emotional. Like right now, like when I felt in that at that screening in Phoenicia, it was I brought my wife with me, and she's like, "Wow, this is way more than what I thought it was being." And it's just like same. Like it's emotional, very. And I thank you and Kim for doing this, and Seamus, you're in this on this as well. I appreciate it, and I'm glad you're here. So, what do we have next, Shai? What's on your agenda next? What can you say?
Well, we just this week locked in our next Hudson Valley screening. We're going to be in Nyack at the Rivertown Film Festival on November 19th. It's going to be a Wednesday night. Kim and I are going to be out there for a Q&A alongside my friend Devin Solar, who is a licensed hiking guide and a health counselor down in Nyack. So he really combines both of those worlds in what he does. Kim and I have a faculty-only screening at a school in northern Jersey, and I'm looking to put together another screening, hopefully around where I'm at, New Haven, Connecticut, with some of the squad out here. And for us, this issue is mental health advocacy is evergreen. So we're just going to keep it small, keep it churning. We hope to bring the film to smaller groups. We think the programming is really perfectly designed for coaches, and they're good avenues where like people are fairly familiar with each other. I think one of the beautiful things after our first screening is someone told us that they, on their way home, they like called a bunch of their friends. They had been going through some really serious stuff, and they were just like, hey, it's like, I just want to let you know that I appreciate you being on my crew through this. So just like finding these little ways to, you don't want to call your friend and say, it's like, hey, I'm having a hard time. And it's like, but if you call someone, it's like, hey, like, I'm doing the Devil's Path this weekend. Like, can you join me on the tough section? It'd be nice to have some company. The metaphors are really there, and that's what makes the editing something and being a part of something like this, and the message we want to share so difficult, because it is that fine line of showing the way and telling someone what to do. You don't want to say like, oh, you're sad, you got to go deal with it. It's like, you want to create a space where people feel safe enough to actually check in with how they're feeling and to know that they can speak up.
Yeah. I hear that. Definitely hear that. That's what the film portrayed. And you did a great job on that. But what about, do you have any other projects with filming next? Like what's up next? Are you going to film me doing like a single hike up Balsam Mountain or something? Jesus, it's horrible.
Maybe if you got it, it's like, what's the thread here? You gotta entice me with a little. Are you two? How many do you have? Like one leg? Or you like? No, I've been.
While we're talking, I came up with something for you to film. Is I'm going to do each of the mountains in the Catskills over 3,500 feet on a skateboard.
I would not suggest that.
I don't know.
Ironically, skateboarding is definitely part of what's in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Bit of my work these last 2 years has taken me. I've always been a skateboarder, but being a part of skateboard advocacy in some ways, getting kids on boards. It's just such a open-ended sport, non-sport, where like as long as you have a piece of concrete and a skateboard, like you have just this infinite experimentation and creativity. I've gotten involved in New Haven with an organization called Skate Haven that teaches skate lessons as well as does aspects of advocacy and arts through skateboarding. We were part of a program in conjunction with Massachusetts Mass MoCA, the Museum of Modern Art up in North Adams, there was a skateboarding arts and advocacy program up there that I filmed. And I've been working on a documentary on Lakota skateboarders, indigenous skateboarders up in South Dakota. There's been a skate contest called the Toby Classic that's been running there for about 25 years. And about 12 years ago, they built a world-class concrete skate park out on a reservation, practically in the middle of nowhere. And in conjunction with the powwow, the skate park and this contest has become like a gathering place. So it sort of plays on the mentality that if dance is prayer, then skateboarding is dance and prayer, and what they've built. So all my films in one way or another is about community, and exemplifying that the work we do to get better is worth it, both individually and as communities.
Wow. Powerful. Definitely that. I gotta admit your stuff has portrayed that, and I appreciate you coming on and talking about that tonight, because you definitely hit the spot with what you want to portray that, and what you and Kim did with The Long Path, journey becoming the film. It was just phenomenal. So with that in set in mind, we come to our last question. In the Prius and stuff like that, your post-hike brews and bites, what's your location in the Catskills that you love to go to, that you want to preach about, to tell people, go here?
Oh man, that's tough. The problem is like all of it and none of it. Like just seeing what I know, because I remember growing up where like Pika-Moose was a friggin' secret, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Like you could pop up, and so it's like I simultaneous. This is a whole nother conversation about conservation and everything else. But my mind is so trepidatious between tell everybody about all my favorite places. You should all experience them, and also I go to nowhere to see nobody. So, man, I just can't. Just all of the Catskills. I think it still exists as. I think there's a couple of different entryways that are incredibly popular. That New Yorkers run through in laps.
Of course.
But there's just so much depth and so many side trails and so many good breweries and places to eat that I just suggest to keep going back and keep exploring it. I just they're the world. It's like the world's worst kept secret, as a whole.
Wow, Shai, Jesus, that is. I think that's the best answer we've gotten yet.
I can't. I can't, because every answer is a non-answer. Because I'm going, my brain is literally like, what about, but then that means I'm leaving out, but what about,
right?
So, and every one of those little plateaus have kicked the shit out of me on some random day. So never take the shading for granted, because you're going uphill either way.
Everywhere. I like it. So that's a great answer. So, once again, Shai, thank you for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it. Once again, thank you to the monthly supporters and monthly sponsors of the show. 190 episodes plus on in. Really appreciate everyone who's still listening on these episodes. It's been a fantastic time. And Shai, thank you for joining us tonight. I really had a great time of getting your side of the story of filming your filmography, performances, stuff like that. I will post everything you mentioned on here, your next screening, stuff like that. Let's hope you come back to the Catskills, because I'll watch it again. I will freaking watch that as many times as I can. Once again, you can rent this for $3.58 a mile, a minute, a penny per mile. Right?
Penny per mile.
Or penny per mile.
That's a good deal.
It's a fucking fantastic deal. Yeah. So I agree. Everybody, check it out. Be in the show notes, everything like that. Shai, thank you for joining us tonight. Awesome time. Fantastic time.
Thanks, Shai.
Yeah. Have a good night. Good luck on everything.
I appreciate it. It was an absolute pleasure being on. Thank y'all.
Definitely.
Hey everyone, I just want to thank you for listening to the show. If you enjoyed the show, subscribe and throw down a smooth review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any podcast platform that you use. You can also check daily updates of the podcast, hikes, hiking news, and local news on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and the official website of the show. Remember this, you gotta just keep on living in the Catskills, man. Livin.
Wicked, 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 wicked.